Most people are terrified of being alone, but the ones who have learned to sit in silence, without distractions, without noise, without someone constantly validating their existence, those people become something that others cannot easily control, manipulate, or break. You might be thinking right now, I am not afraid of being alone, I just prefer company. And maybe that is true. But here is the question worth sitting with. When was the last time you spent an entire evening with nothing but your own thoughts? No television, no phone, no podcast playing in the background, just you and the quiet. If that thought creates even the slightest feeling of discomfort, this video is for you. We live in a world that profits from your distraction. Every notification, every scroll, every moment of mindless entertainment serves one purpose: to keep you from going inward. Because a person who knows how to be alone is a person who cannot be easily sold to, cannot be easily manipulated, cannot be easily shaken. The Stoics understood this long before the modern world made distraction into an industry. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth. He commanded armies, managed a court full of politics and betrayal, and carried the weight of millions of lives on his shoulders. And yet every morning, before the world demanded his attention, he sat with himself. He wrote, he reflected, he sharpened his mind in silence. What we now call the Meditations was never meant to be published. It was a private conversation, a man alone with his own thinking, holding himself accountable, questioning his assumptions, building the kind of inner strength that no external circumstance could destroy. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That sentence is not a motivational poster quote. It is a direct instruction. And it only becomes real when you actually practice it, when you sit alone long enough to discover what your mind does when no one is watching. Here is what most people discover when they first try. The mind panics. It reaches for the phone. It invents reasons to get up and do something, anything, rather than simply be present with itself. That panic is information. It tells you how dependent you have become on external noise to feel normal. Epictetus knew something about being alone that most people never learn. He was born a slave. He had no property, no status, no freedom of movement. Everything that the world considers essential to a comfortable life, he was denied. And yet he became one of the most psychologically free human beings who ever lived. How? Because he understood one fundamental distinction that changes everything. There are things within your control and things outside of it. Your body can be chained, your schedule can be dictated, your circumstances can be miserable, but your inner life, your judgments, your values, your capacity to think clearly, that belongs to no one but you. And you can only discover the full depth of that inner life when you are willing to be alone with it. He taught his students, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." That tranquility does not come from having perfect circumstances. It comes from having a relationship with yourself that is strong enough to hold steady when circumstances fall apart. You might be thinking, this sounds like advice for monks or philosophers, not for someone managing a career, raising children, dealing with aging parents, navigating health concerns, paying bills. And here is where the Stoics become surprisingly practical. Think about a person you may know, or perhaps recognize in yourself. Someone who spent decades building a life around their role. A provider, a manager, a parent. Someone who was always needed, always busy, always defined by what they did for others. And then one day the children left home, or retirement arrived, or a marriage ended, and suddenly, For the first time in 30 years, there was silence, and it felt like falling. That collapse does not happen because the person lost their job or their role. It happens because they never built a relationship with themselves independent of those roles. They never learned to be alone without feeling like something was wrong. The Stoics would say, that vulnerability was always there. Solitude simply revealed it. This is why learning to be alone is not a luxury for people who have time. It is a form of preparation, because life will eventually remove your distractions through loss, through illness, through the simple passage of time. And when that moment comes, the only question that matters is, who are you when the noise stops? So let us talk about what this actually looks like in real life, not in theory, not as a philosophical ideal, but as something you can begin today, regardless of your circumstances. The first thing to understand is that solitude is a skill. It is not a personality trait you either have or do not have. It is something you practice, and like any skill, it feels awkward and uncomfortable at the beginning. The discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong, it is a sign that something is working. Start small, 15 minutes in the morning before you reach for your phone. Sit with a cup of coffee or tea. Do not read, do not listen to anything. Simply observe what your mind does. You will notice that thoughts arrive uninvited, worries about the day ahead, unresolved conversations from the past, random memories that surface without explanation. Do not try to stop them. Do not judge them. Simply watch them the way you might watch clouds moving across the sky. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. Seneca wrote in one of his letters, "Retire into yourself as much as you can." He was not telling people to become hermits. He was making a practical observation that the most important conversations you will ever have are the ones you have with yourself. And those conversations require space. They require silence. They require the willingness to sit still long enough for something honest to surface. After a few days of 15 minutes, extend it. Take a walk without headphones. Drive in silence instead of turning on the radio. Eat a meal alone, at a table, without a screen in front of you. These are not dramatic gestures. They are quiet acts of reclamation. You are reclaiming your own attention from a world that has been quietly stealing it. There is something else that happens when you practice solitude consistently. Your tolerance for shallow interaction begins to change. You become more selective about how you spend your time and with whom. Not because you become cold or antisocial, but because you develop a clearer sense of what actually nourishes you and what simply fills time. That discernment is one of the most valuable things a person can possess in the second half of life. You might be thinking, what about loneliness? Is this not simply a way of dressing up isolation and calling it wisdom? That is a fair question, and it deserves a direct answer. Loneliness is the pain of unwanted disconnection. Solitude is the practice of chosen presence with yourself. They feel completely different from the inside. A lonely person sits alone and wishes they were somewhere else. A person practicing solitude sits alone and finds that they are, in some quiet way, exactly where they need to be. Marcus Aurelius returned to this idea again and again in his private writings. He reminded himself that a person can always retreat, not to a country house, not to a mountain, but inward. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, he wrote. That retreat is always available. It costs nothing. It requires no travel, no perfect conditions, no special circumstances. It only requires the decision to go there. There is a particular kind of person that others instinctively respect. You have met them. They do not seek approval. They do not fill silence with nervous chatter. They listen more than they speak. When they make a decision, they make it without needing the room to agree. When someone tries to provoke them, the provocation finds no purchase. They are, in the truest sense of the word, settled. That settledness does not come from success. It does not come from age alone, or from having the right opinions, or from projecting confidence as a performance. It comes from having spent enough time alone to know who you actually are. To have sat with your fears long enough that they lost their power to surprise you. To have questioned your own assumptions until you found something underneath them that was genuinely yours. This is what the Stoics meant by inner citadel. Not a wall built to keep others out, but a foundation built from the inside, solid enough that the weather outside no longer determines the climate within. You might be thinking right now that this takes years, and in one sense, you are right. Real depth does not arrive overnight, but the practice begins the moment you decide to begin it. Not tomorrow, not when life settles down. Now, today. With 15 minutes of honest silence and the simple willingness to meet yourself without flinching, the world will always offer you noise. It will always give you somewhere to look other than inward. It will always provide a reason to stay distracted, stay busy, stay on the surface of your own life. The dangerous person, the one who cannot be easily manipulated, cannot be easily broken, cannot be easily bought, is the one who has simply stopped accepting that offer. Solitude is not the absence of life. It is where life becomes clear. And clarity, in a world built on confusion, is the most dangerous thing of all.